The world has taught you that you need motivation, but not how to make it work, and that is why all of these hacks don't work in your favor. It's not your fault, it's just that you don't know the basic strategies or the basic questions to ask that will actually make the motivation work in your favor instead of working against you by just fizzling out after a few hours or days. And that is why in today's video, I'll be introducing you to two simple yet very powerful questions. What these questions do is something really remarkable, because while you are still using the same tactics or the same ideas for motivation that you have, they're adding on a layer of customization, a simple layer that helps you understand how to exactly make this force work in your favor and help you take it towards your goals. I'm making this video today because while we think we know motivation, we actually have a pretty misconstrued idea of what it is. Because if you look at the dictionary definition, right, it tells a very simple definition: a reason or reasons for acting or behaving in a particular way. That's exactly what comes up when you search the meaning of motivation on Google. But that isn't what we often hear, right? Instead of being about reasoning, about having a strong purpose, about having a clear reason, motivation is now become something totally different, a beast of its own, and it's turning into an epidemic. For all people are doing is trying to be motivated. They're trying to find something to push them over the edge. They're trying to find something or some idea or some concept or some really powerful line that will make it clear to them that yes, this is what I need to do. This is the only force I needed, and all of that energy and hoo-ha and this and that. And while that is true, while that is needed, while that energy boost can help you grow, have you ever stopped to wonder what's the reason behind it all? Because the truth is, just that energy or just that different zone or just that high that you get off of motivation is not going to help you grow. Instead, using this force of reason, of power, of having a strong why is actually going to help you grow and succeed. And for that, you need to understand how you can customize motivation for yourself. That's a really interesting way to look at it, right? Customizing motivation, because like anything else, the general template won't work for you. And that's why the first question out of the two that you need to ask is, what am I really trying to achieve? Because a lot of times when people look for motivation, right, they're not doing it because they need help trying to achieve what they want. They need it because they're stuck doing something they don't like. Maybe it's their job, maybe it's something to study for, maybe it's a project that they have no idea how to do. And so they're procrastinating, they're stuck, they don't want to put their energy in it. And they need someone to come from the outside to blast something in their headphones and tell them to get to work so that they can find the energy to do so. And so that is why motivation a lot of the times doesn't work, because we're using it to help us achieve something we don't even want. And while that may be a responsibility for you to fulfill, if you really want to use motivation as a force for change, if you really want to make a positive impact in your life, then you need to figure out the answer to the simple question: what am I trying to achieve? Because believe it or not, this clarity is going to take you a long way. The moment you recognize, even when it's very simple, even when it's not something big, even if it's short term, that what it is that you're really trying to achieve, then that will give you a lens to look at motivation through. That will give you a goal. That will give you something to look upon. And so instead of motivation becoming a way for you to procrastinate, that I don't know what I want to do, let me just watch a motivational video, it will tell me. The video won't tell you. You need to find that clarity yourself, because when you do, this is what will happen. So let's say you've decided very rudimentarily that your goal is simple. You want to master web development as a skill. Now that's something short term, that's something that you can measure, and that's also an interesting thing to learn, so you're growing as a person. Now to do that, you have figured out the first part. What am I really trying to achieve? Succeeding at web development, becoming a good web developer. And then what do? Will you go out and search for a motivational video, or will you go out and search for a tutorial on how to become a good web developer? Of course, you'd pick the latter one, right? And that is the key lesson here, that while you're looking for motivation, that itself is a sign that you're not going to get the clarity for there. Will you get energy? Will you get hyped up? Yes, absolutely. But will you actually get moving and make progress? Probably not. And that is why this question is important, because once you recognize it, you will figure out what do you need to learn, what do you need to study, what do you need to explore. And with that curiosity, you can lead on, you can take the way there, and you can find that path out. So do this first before you go out looking for the next motivational video or thinking that this video is going to change me. Just ask yourself this one question and focus on taking this clarity-based approach in just one area of your life. You will notice the difference, and we will also start to see how everything else is changing. Which brings me to the second important question that we need to ask, and that is, what would success look like for me? Again, a very simple, very basic question, but a very powerful one. Because if you think about it, what are we trying to achieve with motivation? It's success, right? It's getting to the goal. But if we don't know what that success looks like, if we don't know what that goal looks like, then how will we ever know we have gotten there? We won't. And that is why it's important for us to ask this second question as well, because I've learned this the hard way. I've done so many things, I've tried so many ideas, I've read so many different books, but the truth and the core of it all never changes, that unless you define what success is for yourself, you won't find it, and you'll always be searching around for it in a loophole. And I did this with myself whenever I was learning a new skill or language. I would get started with excitement, I would think about it, but I wouldn't even take the time to define what success would look like for me, or what my end goal was, or what I would be happy or satisfied with. And because of that, I held myself to a standard that was high, but that was also pretty impractical for anyone who was just starting out. Because imagine, if I'm just learning how to play the guitar today, I cannot instantly become a rock star tomorrow and start playing on this stage with the world's biggest artists, right? It takes time, it takes effort, it takes consistent practice, and who knows, maybe that isn't even the aim for me. Maybe I don't want to be a person who can play the guitar at a big concert. Maybe I just want to be someone who can play the guitar for his friends or his family. But if I don't take the time to define that, what will happen? I will get started. I will think, oh, you know what, it's too difficult. And then I'll give up. Maybe I'm not meant for this. Maybe I don't know, I shouldn't do this. And that plagued a lot of the things that I was doing. I would get started, then I would quit because progress was slow and I was holding myself to a standard I wasn't even aware of. And so I want you to avoid this mistake that I made, because this will only stifle your progress. This will only keep you stuck. Instead, if you take the time to clarify what success would look like, then it will be a lot easier for you to take action and find the motivation to make it happen. So let's just take the web development example. For you, success could be developing a really well designed and a very functional website that has no bugs. Now that's an admirable goal. And with that, you've done two incredible things. The first one is that you've set out what you really wanted to achieve, so you got a clear goal. But you also set a measure for what success would look like in that goal. So you knew that, well, I want to be a good developer. Being a good developer as of now to me means that I can create a website that looks beautiful and functions well without any bugs. Now that is something you can achieve. That is something you can try to move forward with, and that is something honestly a lot of people have done as well. So finding the motivation or finding the time or even tracking your progress won't be as hard as doing many other things. And then you won't be searching on YouTube for the next motivational video. You'll actually be looking for ways to solve your problems. And you might feel overwhelmed, you might feel confused, you might feel fearful. But in those moments, right, that motivational video or that idea or that inspirational concept, it will actually make a lot more sense to you, because you will have a frame of reference to look at it from. Instead of just listening to it as general advice, you'll know, okay, yeah, this is a problem I face, so how do I solve it? And when you find the solution, that itself will help you grow. So before you even get there, I want you to focus on these two questions today and try this experiment out in just one area of your life. Figure out what you're really trying to achieve, preferably in the short term, so you can track the progress that you're making. And then second, what would success look like for me? Define these two parameters very clearly and pursue that hobby, pursue that goal, pursue that learning, pursue that skill, and watch just how quickly your mind changes, just how quickly your need for motivation changes. Because now that you have this clarity, you won't be looking for the generic stuff. You'll just solve your problems and you'll be on your way to making actual progress, because now motivation is not an escape for you. It is something that is helping you grow, and it is something that is customized to you. And that is a powerful realization. And that is why, just like the clarity you found in this video, every single week you can get the same on a new topic and a new problem that might be affecting your life. And for that, I'd highly recommend that you hit the subscribe button and join a community of achievers who are not just there to be motivated, but who are there to actually get out there and achieve their goals and solve their biggest problems. And with that, I'd like to leave you with just one simple thought. Ask yourself, what am I chasing motivation for? Is it really just an escape, or am I actually trying to achieve my goals? And if the answer is to achieve your goals, share your answer in the comments below, and I'd love to help you out, to answer your questions and to help you gain more clarity. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you next week.